Welcome to Moments of Motherhood. I'm Bailey.
And I'm Tori. Join us in creating community through shared experiences and candid conversations.
We hope to bring you laughter, comfort, and solidarity in this journey of motherhood.
This is our virtual village.
Hey everyone, welcome to Moments of Motherhood. I'm Bailey.
And I'm Tori, and today we are talking all things step parenting. And I have an expert here with me right now.
I don't know about an expert, but we've been in it for a while, so.
Yeah, you're like, how many years in? 8?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite 8, something like that though.
But yeah, a long time.
Yeah, a very long time. I've got lots of feels on it, and I know everyone's step parenting journey is different, but I feel like there's not a lot spoken to step parenting. So it's pretty important to me.
Yeah, so today I'm mostly going to be sort of like interviewing Bailey since I am not in that realm at all. But I think that you have so much to offer, and I think that a lot of stepmoms will be able to relate so much to what you've gone through and how you navigate it, and I think it's going to be a good episode. So I'm excited. I think we're going to jump right in because we're sort of limited on time with these babies, but
Totally.
So yeah.
I think I just want to start off and say, like, stepmothers, stepfathers, stepparents, you were like a godsend.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get the credit you deserve, and I feel how hard it is. And I shouldn't even say stepdads, really. Stepdads, like, get way more credit, I think, or like more praise because they get to be like the saviors. Like, oh, they go in and save this poor family, you know, which is not the reality, where stepmoms are always kind of seen as the villains, like as though like you're going in to compete.
That is a really good perspective that I sort of never thought of, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I feel like stepmoms really have a lot of pressure in comparison to the other way around.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so for starters, let's like rewind.
Okay.
When you first met Ed, I'm sure that the first thing he said to you wasn't, I have kids. Maybe it was, but when you were in the, when you were looking for a prospective partner, did you ever consider being with someone with kids?
Yeah, no. I was actually kind of the opposite. I never wanted someone with children. I always said I wanted to have my own babies. It's different. I think when I was little, I did always say I wanted to adopt. So growing up my whole life, I knew I wanted to adopt children. That was just always something, like, since I was really little, I always wanted to do that. But I actually said the opposite when it came to a partner. I never said that I wanted someone with kids. I was like, I don't want someone with kids. I don't want to jump into a blended family. I don't want to deal with any drama, any of that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Ed and I wasn't searching for anyone. Ed kind of fell into my lap and life just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, I had to become eventually open to it, but that was one of the biggest defining factors of whether I was going to continue a relationship with Ed or not, was if I could handle being a step parent.
Yeah.
And if I wanted that.
So what were some of the defining factors? Like, what made you say, okay, like, I think I can do this. Let's like give this like a real go.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, the way Ed was able to support me in my journey to becoming a step parent, right? So he really harvested mine and my stepkids' relationship, and he allowed that to flourish. The kids were fairly young. And I kind of naturally fell into a step parenting role. I was nannying at the time. So, and I was kind of young and naive, to be honest. Like, I don't think I fully evaluated at 21 years old.
You were 21.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think I fully evaluated how hard it was going to be and how difficult it would be
Well, fair.
helping to raise someone else's kids. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I love the kids, they love me, I love Ed, he loves me, this is great. I live in La La Land.
Mm-hmm.
And like I also at the time everything was pretty cool with Ed and the co-parent, his co-parent with bio mom. Um Again living in La La Land because Ed was just doing whatever needed to be done to like keep things calm and not
Oh,
necessarily standing up for himself.
right.
Which at the time, like I was young and it was great and it was easy. And we would have the kids like 3 nights a week. And the other 4 days we were doing whatever we wanted. And
Yeah.
it was like pretty smooth sailing. And I didn't think about what that would actually look like long term.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess. So I don't know. For me, it wasn't necessarily, it was more so like I get along with the kids and we have a
Mm-hmm.
great relationship. So let's do it.
Yeah, it sort of just happened naturally
Yeah.
then for you. Yeah, like you met Ed and you guys hit it off and you loved being with him and like his kids were little. So do you think that had played a role in, like
Yeah.
being able to progress that they were little and maybe like do you think it's easier to kind of jump into someone else's world with kids if they're younger because they were like 3 and 5?
Yeah. They were 3 and 5. It was definitely, for me, it was easier just because the kids were not necessarily, didn't have as much like anger or resentment or anything like that towards
Mm,
their parents' divorce.
right.
So they were just like young, like we were talking about before, kids are just so forgiving at that age. So,
Yeah.
and both my stepkids are super loving. So it was just easy. And at the
Mm,
time, Ed was playing. So we had so many other things and excitement going on. It was like, okay, we're going to daddy's
mm,
game and we're going to go to Disney and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Like, there wasn't time to really sit down and think about, like, oh, this lady is here instead of my mom.
right.
It was like, we know mommy and daddy live in separate places. And like, now this is daddy's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never that, like, oh, this is my new mom or anything like that. It was just like, this is another person to love us, kind of
Yeah.
is how we fell into that.
Yeah. Which I think you did like a really great job respecting that and being like, I
Yeah.
love you. I'm not trying to replace you. I'm not trying or replace your mom.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, come in here and F shit up. Like you were
Yeah.
just you like you said, you were a nanny. So I think that's sort of that all happened super naturally and super like smooth in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you didn't
And
have to communicate a lot with
yeah, there was
bio
really
mom.
there wasn't a ton of communication. And it wasn't until Ed and I decided to move in together
Mm,
that there was like conflict in paradise.
okay. So let's get into
Um,
that a little bit.
yeah, that's kind of when a lot of the points of contention started, I guess, and really true colors. All the red flags like popped up. And I
Mm.
was just like, what red flags with my blinders on? And yeah,
Well, yeah.
so
You loved
Ed,
Ed and
yes,
you
yes.
wanted
And
to believe the best, I think.
I, in my heart, like deep down in my soul, I was like, there's no way that someone could not like me. Like, I really thought, like, I'm a good person. I'm like loving your kids. I respect you as the mother. Like, I
Hmm.
really never thought that like someone would not come around. There was always a point of like, there's going to be a point in time where we can all be in the same room together and we'll all like get it figured out, you know?
I know.
Um, and yeah, I was just naive, I think. But yeah, so eventually Ed and I moved in together, and that's when court systems got involved.
Oh.
And, there was things put into parenting plans that like Ed and I couldn't live together, and that I was allowed to like essentially be the kids' caretaker, and I could come over at 6 in the morning and give the kids baths and do all of these things and take them to school and pick them up from school and be on emergency contacts, but I wasn't allowed to spend the night in my own house when they were there.
Hmm.
Um,
So
so I
that's
think,
that's when it really like
hit
started.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like when it really hit me like, oh my God, this isn't necessarily even about the kids. My step parenting for me, the step parenting part is easy. It's the co
Mm.
parenting that's difficult, which I think a lot of parents, like, that's where it's finding the balance, is trying to figure out how to co parent.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, from what I've seen, you have a pretty great relationship with Trey and Jada.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and with all kids, there's going to be ups and downs, but I think for the most part, you have like a really solid relationship. And
Yeah.
they know that you love them, and they know that like there's
Yeah.
boundaries and there's lots of just like love in your house.
Yeah.
And so for you, I guess the hardest, like you just said, the hardest part is co parenting. So, what
Hmm.
are some of the biggest challenges? I think you've said before that on the podcast that it's a high conflict
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. So it is a very high conflict situation. I think, any separation is going to be hard and there's going to be challenges and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's personalities are different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with us, there's been, a lot of custody battles. And I think having courts involved just really makes it 10 times harder. If it was just like a
Mm.
chill vibe and they're like, okay, we're going to do what's best for the kids and do 50-50 and cool. But
Yeah.
when there's one parent that thinks they deserve more time and doesn't respect the other parent, like as a parent, it
Mm.
creates havoc. And that's what I have to remind myself. Like, if the two bio parents can't respect each other, how can I expect any type of respect for me as a step parent? Or
Yeah.
expect
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I can't, and again, it was hard. But a lot of it has turned into kind of parallel parenting for us. Like
Mm.
we have to do what we can on our weeks and bio mom does what she does on her weeks. And we just try to keep it separate at this point. Just as a way to try and keep peace. Because if not, it's challenging. And actually, I started getting support online from other Instagrams, and I started following this one Instagram that at first I thought was crazy. It's called Nacho Kids, like kind of like Nacho Kids.
Yeah.
They aren't your kids.
Yeah.
And it was crazy for me because we did have custody of the kids for a while. So I was like kind of thrown into being a full-time mother with them.
Mm-hmm.
I was 24. And
Mm-hmm.
so at that point, it's hard because it's like, okay, bio dad is working and kids live with us full time. And I am now, bio mom is in another state. And now I am like
The stay at
supposed
home
to be,
mom.
yeah, I'm the stay at home mom and I'm the parent that is raising these children while dad's at work. Like obviously Ed is super hands on as a
Yeah.
father. But like I'm spending a lot of time with the kids and falling into this role.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got pregnant with Roland in sorry. That's when I got pregnant with Roland and it was just easy in that sense because it was like, okay, I'm the parent, like step in. There was no sort of like I'm stepping on toes because there was no toes to step on. It was
Oh.
like, okay, if there's something that needs to be communicated at school, I can do that. If the kids need to be picked up early, I can do that. There was no like third party to jump
Right.
around. I think when mom came back into the picture, I had to realize like, okay, she decided to come back. Like I got to fall back, even though I've been in
Mm.
this role as mother, like I'm not their mom.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where you have to let your ego go so much as a step parent. Like, obviously I'm hurt. Like I've been here doing everything, working my ass off. Like I dropped out of law school. I'm pregnant. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing all these things, sacrificing for kids that aren't mine. And then it's like, oh, I'm back. And it's like, F you, stepmom, take a seat, stop trying to take my place kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think for stepmoms, it's a hard balance. It's a fine line. It's a dance. And you end up doing like, you fall into place and like you support needs, even though you will never be appreciated or respected. And it's literally like you have to strip your ego to ever be okay with it. Like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. It's fine. And I started following this Instagram called Not Your Kids. And at the time I was like parent, I'm like, you can't do that. Like, I have to love these kids. I have to support these kids. But then once mom was back, I was like, you know what? You're right. These aren't my kids. You want to go take them to the doctors? Go ahead. Like, oh, you want to pack the lunches? Do it. You want to do the
Yeah.
parent teacher conferences? Hands off. Um, so I think it's a lot of finding balance of like what role you're going to play and how hands-on you want to be as a
Yeah.
step parent, whether it's forced or whether it's chosen.
Right. Okay. So going back a little, you met Ed. He had his kids like 50% of the time.
Yep.
Then you got involved, and then you guys moved,
Mm-hmm.
and that is when you got full custody.
So no. We moved like as a family. We all agreed Ed had an opportunity to either stay in North Carolina and play for the Panthers or move to Seattle and play for the Seahawks. And the Seahawks were offering a lot more money, even though we all loved North Carolina. And I was on board at the time, like, cool. Also naive, like thinking like, okay, we'll be there for maybe 4 years, then we'll come back to the East Coast. Like, no big deal. And the kids, mom's side of the family is from the West Coast. So it was like an easy transition there too. And we all agreed like, hey, we're moving to Seattle and it's really cool, whatever. And mind you, this is me, like, I'm still not communicating with that side. This is just like Ed's communicating with me and communicating with that side. And then when we moved here, we bought a house, and then the other party just didn't move here and moved to their hometown with the kids.
Oh.
And Ed found out like the day they started school. He got a picture. It was like not his parenting time, and he got a picture that said like, hey, the kids are starting school in this state, and like he's in practice, and like it was the craziest thing ever. And we immediately like filed things in court, and we were traveling. I mean, we spent like $60,000 on flights that year, traveling back and forth to see the kids. Like, his off day is Tuesday in the NFL. So he would literally fly down on a Tuesday to like see the kids after school and take them to karate, and then fly back before practice Wednesday morning.
So
And then
crazy.
I would drive or fly whenever we had home games to go pick them up so they could like go to a home game with us. And it was just the most traumatizing experience. And the court system is just so effed up. Like, I could go on. That's a whole other topic. But just the fact, like, the majority of people in the United States don't have $60,000 to put on flights, So, like, when they go to court in a year, our court date was set for like the next June. They would have been like, oh, I haven't seen my kids in 9 months. Not because I chose, but because they were literally taken to another state without my consent. Like, but Ed fortunately was able, we had the means, the financial means, and I wasn't working, and I was able to help with those things. So he was able to have on record, like, look, I fought for my kids this whole year. I was leaving work early. I was, missing some of my meetings in the league, like doing all these things to see my kids. And then we got custody that June. So June 2019.
Okay.
And then they officially moved back to Seattle and started school here.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a lot.
That probably, do you feel like that sparked like the true, just like, I don't want to say like resentment on your end. I mean, I'm sure there is some, but for bio mom, like that was probably like a huge point in which maybe you realize like, okay, we're probably never going to have a relationship because that shit was crazy.
No, I was still so dumb. I was still so naive. Like, I was literally like, hey, like, let's grab lunch. Let's figure this out. Let's like work out a system that we can do these things. And I was just like, I don't even know the word. I was just young and hopeful and naive. And I didn't like know how evil the world could be. Even after seeing all of that, I still was like, people can turn around, people can change.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. It wasn't until I was pregnant that I realized like, okay, there's no hope. This is never changing. And that's like there's a lot of oh, is Auto awake?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so you were super okay. You were saying you were super naive still, but you were just you had hope that you could one day still like have a relationship.
Yeah, that like it would just even out and like
Yeah.
somehow. Yeah, I just like I look back now at me and I'm
Hmm.
just like, how did you not realize that this was not changing? And like that there was just no like when someone's dedicated to hating you, you can never change their mind.
Hmm.
There's nothing you'll be able to do.
I think that's probably such a good point for other step parents, maybe in like the early stages,
Yeah.
to hear that like if you are doing everything in your power and you're being
Mhm.
kind and loving and amazing to
Mhm.
that person's kids and you're opening yourself up for a relationship, but they're just closed off, like just accepting that and moving on and just
Yeah.
trying to be okay with it is probably
Yeah.
the
It's so
only thing that
hard.
you can do.
It's so hard. I mean, I remember like I would literally take the kids to go get Mother's Day presents and make cards and do birthday crafts and like just because I can't imagine like I
Because if
obviously
roles
no
were
one.
reversed,
Yes, exactly. Like if roles were
like,
reversed and I was just at home and didn't have my kids, like I would want someone to help fill that void and help nurture that relationship.
yeah. And
Um,
yeah, God forbid, like
yeah,
now you have kids, your
yeah,
own bio kids. So you can sort of like wrap your head around, okay, if another woman was in my kid's life, like what would I want that relationship to look like?
yeah.
And
And
maybe
that's
before kids, you were naive, like you said, and you maybe couldn't grasp the concept of like, how could I even accept another woman into my kid's life? But now you're here and you can
yeah.
have that perspective. So I just feel like now you've seen like both sides, and
Hmm.
does
I
that
can,
make you feel even like, sorry, even more of a type of way towards bio mom because you're
yes,
like, what the
yes,
hell? Like,
yes. So I will say, like, before, again, I was young and kind of dumb, and I was like, okay, like, I can kind of see, like, this is solely from a place of like envy or jealousy, right? Like, I'm angry about the situation, and I could see that. Like, I get that. Like, I probably wouldn't like me either.
right.
But as a mother, if Ed and I were to ever end up like, I'm sorry, you're going to be my best friend. Like, we are going to be cool, like, no matter what it takes,
Yeah.
because you have such an impact on my children.
Mm.
Like, how can I hate you if you love my kids?
Yeah.
How can I
That's
not
like,
have a
yeah.
relationship with someone that my children love?
Mm.
Like, I just think it's so important to at least be able to like be in the same room
Yeah.
or call each other if you need to talk about something. And like that to me is, men are men and women are women. And I could just see, like, let's say, God forbid, I don't even like imagining it, but if it was to ever happen, like there was another woman in my kid's life, sure, I'm sure there would be bitterness and I'm sure there would be resentment. But at the end of the day, like, I would know my ex and I know how he operates. Like, let me get on your
Oh,
team so we can like work this out together. Cause I know sometimes he's going to be dumb. Or I know sometimes I might not make the best call, or I might be busy and I might need your help. Like, let's work together. It's not easy
yeah.
to raise kids. Like, adding a layer of negative energy doesn't help anything.
Yeah. Oh,
So yeah, I have pretty strong feelings on like I just think it's immature to
yeah.
not have a relationship with.
To at least be open to
Yeah.
like a decent level of like a communication that is just like being decent to each other. Like
Yeah.
you don't even have that. So
Yeah.
I just feel like people listening really like they're not ever going to know the extent of it, but you've had to deal
Yeah.
with some like really crazy shit, and
Yeah.
I'm always an ear to listen to you. I just
Yeah.
obviously can't know what you're going through or really offer any sort of advice because obviously I haven't been there, but
Yeah.
it's tough and I feel awful for the situation, and I think that you've done such a good job dealing with it with grace and love and
I
You've
appreciate
always
that
you've
so
taken the
much.
high ground in a lot of ways. I know, like,
Yeah.
maybe you think you haven't, and I'm sure there's been times that you haven't, but in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and I will. I mean,
you've
I will say that. Like, I think there's a level of finding being the bigger person and also having respect for yourself when no one else is going to give you respect, right? Because there's definitely been times
yeah.
where, like, I was angry. Like, I remember being pregnant and I was finally just like, why are you such a bitch?
Mm,
Like, literally,
yeah.
why? Like, what is the problem here? Sit down and
Yeah.
have a conversation with me. Like, it's not always just like rainbows and butterflies and I'm just happy and love being a step parent. Like, no, it's
No.
honestly the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And there's times where I have my breaking point. Like, literally, why are you such a bitch? Why? Why are we here? What is the problem? What's the issue?
Mhm.
And if you're choosing to become a step parent, you have to be willing to understand there could literally be no reason. There's no reason for them not to, they just don't like you, and that's
Yeah.
fine. And you have to figure out whether it's something you can deal with or not in your life. Um, and really
Yeah.
just like step away, figure out what's consistent, realize like, okay, they're always going to consistently do this and find a way to maneuver around it and like set your boundaries and set what you need to find your peace because otherwise it's like the most stressful thing in the world.
Is that your biggest piece of advice to a stepmom, or I guess it could be a dad that is dealing with someone that is just unwilling to have any sort of relationship with them and, just sort of makes things harder than it has to be, is to just have firm boundaries?
I think like firm boundaries is one, but I think you and your partner have to be a unit. Like even if you're not a unit, even if you disagree, like on the forefront, you have to be a unit to the
Mm.
outer world, no matter
Hmm.
what. Like because in high conflict relationships like this, if there's even an ounce, like a little tiny inch of like someone to like weasel their way in and try to cause a fight in your life or
Oh,
cause drama, they're going to do that. So you like have to show a united front constantly. So I think like showing a united front and like having those deep conversations, like, and you do as a step parent have to monitor sometimes what you say because a lot of times I know with Ed, like I never want it to come off like I don't care about the kids. It's not that I don't care about the kids, it's just this situation is overwhelming.
yeah.
So maybe not share all of your inner feelings with your partner about it and like find like there's so many stepmom, step parenting like Instagrams and social
Mm.
medias that can really like I found so much help with that because I was like, there's no way. Am I the shitty person? Like, am I terrible for feeling this way? And those things really
Well,
help you.
yeah, because unless you had kids before Ed,
Yeah.
he doesn't know. Like, you would
Yeah.
have had to come into the relationship with kids also for him to really understand how you
Oh,
feel. So
and that is
that's
so
a whole
hard.
other dynamic
Yeah.
of
I
being a
literally
step
tried
parent.
telling him that. I'm like, literally, I wish I had, like, I wish you had baby daddy drama you had to deal with. Like, I wish I
Mm,
had a baby daddy that you had to deal with.
yeah,
But it wouldn't even be the same because,
I
like,
was just gonna
Ed,
say that.
it literally wouldn't be the same because Ed would be like, hey, like, let's sit down, figure this out, and like, cool. Like, Ed literally is like that. Like, there
Yeah,
is a step parent, and like, immediately Ed was like, hey, like, you're going to be around my kids. Let's sit down and like meet each other and just like set up some boundaries and some rules. Like,
yeah.
and again, wasn't reciprocated, but Ed is just that type of person.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's challenging and all the dynamics are different. I think blending families too, once you have other kids involved, it just adds like more layers because now there's like, okay, how do we balance this and balance that? And
So, what did it look like the first maybe like 6 months after you had Roland? Like, how did
oh my God, it was great. Like,
how did the bigger
the
kids do?
kids were so excited. When I was pregnant with Roland, we really like harvested such a great relationship with them and just like nurtured. Um, we really just nurtured like such a positive relationship between them. Like, this is your baby kind of thing. And
Mm,
like, like this is your brother, you get to help, just including
yeah.
them in as much as possible. And like the first 6 months were honestly magical. Like we had my mom was out here and
Mm,
it was the summertime and we had gotten a boat and we were like doing all of the amazing things. And, it was we had an issue right before I gave birth to Roland is when mom moved out here, like 2 weeks before I gave birth.
Mm,
So
I remember
that was
that.
like hard and traumatizing, but then I also had to I had to find the silver lining, right? Like, no, we don't have the kids full time. And this is not what I thought I was getting myself into when we decided to have a baby. Like, I thought we were going to have our standards and like our schedule and do what we wanted to do with
Yeah.
the kids full time. And that wasn't the reality. So I had to be flexible to shift and be like, okay, let's take the week that we don't have the kids to like recoup and really enjoy just
Mm,
like our little, and trying to find a positive as difficult as that is, because it changed our whole entire like day to day and
yeah.
family outlook. But yeah, the first 6 months were easy. I think the more children I've had, the harder it's gotten.
Yeah.
And every time there's like a big life change that causes more conflict,
Oh,
so like marriage and baby and pregnant, like all those things like that seems to be when chaos
triggering.
occurs. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's really finding ways to come to peace. And so yeah, Roland was magical. When I had Kane, it was not magical. That was like,
That was so high stress, I remember, because you had
oh my
him
God.
early, right?
Yeah,
I
I
mean, not
had
like early,
him
early, but like early.
literally right on the 37-week mark. Yeah, that was hard. And again, this is why co-parenting's hard. It's like during COVID and mama's intuition, right? Like you just have a mama's intuition about things. And we had switched kids a few days because bio mom wasn't feeling well. And then we went to pick up the kids. And I remember I picked up Trey. Ed was messing with the boat or something, getting the boat ready. We were going to go out. Um, and my stepson was like, or I asked him how he was feeling. He sounded like snotty, nasally. And I was like, Trey, are you feeling okay? And he's like, oh, my throat's been hurting all week. And I was just like, I literally called Ed and I was like, oh, no, I didn't call Ed yet. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, has it been bothering you for a few days? And I was like, oh, is mommy feeling better? And they're like, mommy slept on the couch all week with a mask on. And I called Ed and I was like, like hormonal and like just
You're about
on
ready to have a
fire.
baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally on fire. And I was like, Ed, the kids have COVID. Like, I know for a fact the kids have COVID. And he's like, you need to take a breather. Like, let's look at this
Let's
logically.
not
You
tell
don't
a
just
37-week pregnant.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't just know that the kids have COVID. And I was like, I'm telling you, I fucking know the kids have COVID. Like, I
Hmm.
literally know. And then it turned into this whole thing where I like didn't feel protected as a pregnant woman, like as your wife.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like there was, and that's not to say, but he was also, like thinking of his kids. Like I can't just,
Yeah.
because I was like, no, they need to go back to their mom's house. Like they literally have COVID. They need to go back to their mom's house. And I was like, get them tested if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
which is crazy because I really wasn't doing that. But I was like, go get them tested.
Yeah.
And what do you know? A test came back positive, and I was like
Mm.
literally ready to flip out. And I was so stressed out. And I was like calling my midwife. I'm like, what does it like if I have COVID? What does that look like? Will you guys still come to my house? Does that mean I have to go to the hospital? Like
Yeah.
running through all the scenarios. Like, is my baby going to be taken away from me if I test positive for COVID? And like just terrified, so terrified. And yeah, so I ended up going into
Like
labor.
goosebumps
Yeah, the
thinking about that.
day after that happened.
Yeah, because crazy stress. Like that shit is so
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. So, and yeah, like just high conflict situations, man, sharing time, sharing parenting styles, sharing children. It's hard. And yeah, so I think I went from being so naive and like open minded to super traumatized and resentful and angry to just let me live my life and don't fucking bother me,
Mm.
is where I'm at now. Like, do you, boo boo? I will do me. We will figure out, like, I'll keep loving your kids, even though,
Yeah.
and I'll pray for you that eventually we can talk sometime.
I know, because y'all are going to be connected forever now. You guys have
Yeah,
kids
like,
that
we're
are
going to have
siblings.
weddings and grandbabies. And yeah. So it's a lot. And yeah, I guess that's the other fire in me too, like mama bear. Like when my kids, I'm very big, like if my kids want to go run up and say hi, I'm like, go say hi. Like that's your brother's mom.
Yeah.
And then when they get like ignored, I want to fight someone.
Yeah.
So it's a really hard high conflict situation. And I just feel for all the moms out there that are dealing with it. And I wish I probably had some more positive words, but just find your own peace and figure out what you need to do to
Yeah.
survive in these moments. Cause it's hard, it's challenging. And you just like the groundwork and the roots, the foundation of your family is going to be the most important. Like you and your partner have to be on the same page and work together through those things.
Yeah. I had a thought, but I sort of lost it, I guess. Do you think that as the kids continue to get older, that it will be maybe hopefully get easier? Or do you foresee just like having to put this major wall up for like until they're grown out of your house, like adults?
I think it gets easier as they get older in the aspect of like when Trey's driving, or sorry, when my stepson's driving, I don't know if I'm saying names or not.
Oh, yeah.
um, like I don't know. I think it'll be easier because like we won't have to do back and forth. Like, okay, cool. You want to go to your mom's today? You want to go to your dad's today? Like, do that kind of thing. There won't
Mm,
be as much like, okay, we got to figure out when we're switching and figure out if we can switch these days.
less
And
parenting
yeah,
involvement and like
yeah,
coordinating.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
exactly.
point.
Yeah. So I
So,
think the older they get, it's probably going to be a little bit easier. It's also harder because we do have our littles. So again, I end up feeling a resentment because it's like, okay, we can't go visit my family in New York because we have to stay here to do this, this, or that.
mm,
Or, we can't live next to my family because we have to be here.
yeah,
Or we can't, like all these things. And that's hard to deal with as a mom, like I never understood, like I literally love my stepkids like they're my own, but there's also something different when you have your own. Like when
yeah,
you don't have control. So they'll do things and I have to like I don't even know the word really.
surrender.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like surrender that things are out of my control and surrender that like this is the life I've chosen my children to have and I have to figure out ways to deal with it and protect them the best I can from the trauma that may occur, like, or that has
Yeah,
happened to the others.
yeah. That's a
Um,
lot of sacrifice too for you. Like you were just saying, like
yeah,
not being able to go to New York or live next to whoever or move whenever you want to. Like it's a lot of sacrifice for the step parent, I think.
yeah,
And
it's a ton of sacrifice.
yeah, you
Even
just have
just
to.
down to like not being able to go on vacation.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
we live in Seattle. You can't get anywhere like in an easy, it's not the East Coast where you can like hop to a bunch of cities or like go to the Caribbean for a day. Like you're literally
For a
here and
day.
we,
The Caribbean for a day. What a life. No, I know what you're
okay.
saying. I know what
You
you're
know what I
saying.
mean. But yeah, like when you only have a week to do things with your little family, it's like we go from a giant family to, I mean, we still have 3 kids, so it's still fairly big, but
It's a big family in this day and age.
yeah, right.
Shit.
Um, but it's like trying to consolidate. So it's like we have one week where Ed and I barely see each other. Like we're moving, traveling, school drop off,
Oh,
soccer, school pickup. Roland has preschool, someone has practice, like all these different pieces. And then we have our week with just our kids where we're just like, let's recoup, recenter. And I think
yeah.
that I also end up envious. I honestly get like envious of Bio Mom. Like she has a week by herself to recoup.
Mm,
Like my recouping, I'm still like changing diapers and cleaning up and doing
3.
laundry. Yeah, 3. And like she just gets to be. And I'm like, how do you have energy to hate me when you literally get to like do whatever you want for a whole
That's how
week?
she has energy to hit you
Like,
because she has too much damn time on her hands.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
I don't
gosh.
know. It's a lot. And I don't know. the life I chose. And I know God, like, doesn't give you more than you can handle. And there is a
Yeah.
lesson somewhere in here. And I do think, I'm here especially for Jada for a reason. Her and I have dealt with a lot of the same struggles as children with like identity issues and similar custody cases and all of these things. So I know that I've really been Jada's rock for a lot. And like she opens up to me about a lot. And I know that I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's easy. So.
No, but you have, like I keep telling you, like so much good karma coming your way that
I'm waiting. Come on.
I know.
Yeah. So.
Any other thoughts? I feel like we covered a fair bit, just like on your own personal struggles and tidbits that you shared that other stepmoms can maybe take away and feel seen and validated in their feelings.
Yeah. I think let go of control. Like that's what has helped me come to the most peace. Like let go of control. That's it. Like it's hard and you can only control your house and that's all, which is challenging enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Just let go of control and talk to your partner and really be on the same page and keep those boundaries. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. I feel like that was like a pretty hard topic to share on just because it's so emotional and it's so, well, it's just like triggering to talk about. I mean, for me, it's triggering to talk about and I'm not even in it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the hardest thing is that like I again have always tried to like keep the peace, so I keep my mouth shut on a lot. But I think also that's part of my healing journey is to be able to tell my truth. And if that can help one other step parent feel seen and feel heard or, resonate with them, then I think it's important. And I just have to share my truth. And people already don't like me. So what else can happen? Like nothing else can be worse.
Oh my gosh, you're going to have haters and people that don't like you.
Yeah.
Everywhere in this world. I mean, I could say I love butterflies and someone would tell me that I'm an awful person.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the world we live in, which is so crazy. But yeah, okay. So
cool.
I feel like I don't have any other questions like right off the go, but maybe we can do a little post about this topic and just like open up the conversation. That would be cool for you, especially to be able to connect with other stepmoms. And just like talk about it and ask questions, maybe answer questions. I feel like you have a lot of advice and you have a lot of experience. So visit our Instagram if this resonates with you.
Yeah, please comment, follow,
at
like
MomPod.
Yeah. Interact with us. It really helps us be able to keep this going. So like, follow,
share.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
See you next time.